Hey, good morning. I kind of wanted to try to give a little narrative to that last article that I wrote about how to dream, and that's kind of like a superlative topic titled "How to Dream," just how to think, how to wish, how to hope for, and sometimes like you write something and you get real technical and you kind of bring it into a certain uh, uh, plane that's not easy to kind of maybe assimilate or make it seem practical or thing. So I believe it kind of helps sometimes to when you're trying to convey a message, to get out of that texting or that writing kind of thing and actually kind of talk to somebody, and somehow by seeing the inflection, by actually witnessing the energy that they're producing and how they express themselves and articulate themselves and the inflections that they use and things like that, it kind of gives a much more deeper appreciation for something. So, with that said, I'm going to do my best to try to expand on that. Gratitude, why should I be grateful? Humility, why act humble, man? Like, what does that do for me? It sounds good. It has, church, they kind of, give it a deep appreciation. But, my goal is to talk about how to answer that kind of question in this with traction, with something more than just words, but words that help you find a plausible purpose in pursuing a philosophy of life that's based on existentialism. Existentialism. I'm connected to everything, man. I'm the energy that manifests me, manifests everything in life. And if I come in tune to that energy and kind of get out of this dogma of I think this, or you think that, so I should think this, and well, you think that and I don't think this, and it's just like, that's kind of like watching the news. If you're trying to find a purpose in watching the news, if you're trying to find some way to have a benevolent existence, you're kind of looking down the sewer for your dinner. It ain't gonna taste too good, and it ain't gonna probably do much for you. So trying to come in tune to that energy, the thing that manifests everything and that we're a part of. So in pursuing that existentialistic enigma of a reality, what does it mean and how do I do it? What's the purpose of it? Because that all may sound like really nice. Oh, I want to be part of those yellow flowers over there, and I'd like to be part of that stream because that sounds really nice. But well, give me something that's a little bit more than that, because it's going to take a lot of work for me to get out of that mindset of mine that really wants to judge and do all these things or whatever stuff. So I'm gonna meet a lot of obstacles in that pursuit. So why should I do it? What's the purpose in that? Well, at first, most of us have to think our way towards a stoic existence. A stoic existence is that kind of, try to think of somebody who had a stoic, Marcus Aurelius, man, he was known for being a great warrior and conquering, uniting Rome and just creating this huge empire, but Marcus had a very stoic existence. He believed there was a purpose in life, and it wasn't just to kill people and to be the winner in war. He thought there was a lot more to it, and he made a lot of notes on that. He used to write a lot, and he had a lot of rituals that he pursued, and he talked about, and so that kind of existence is a stoic. Find a meaning below the surface of your reality. Find a connection to things. At first, it's kind of complicated. At first, we kind of stumble over ourselves. We're trying to walk this. We're trying to go live this type of life that's extremely challenging, because it's not what we're used to. We're used to, this kind of mind that is looking after itself and really is kind of using the things outside of it to benefit itself, instead of trying to find a harmony between the two, So it causes a lot of difficulty and a lot of frustration and often embarrassment. A lot of times you kind of feel like, man, I am just totally foolish, trying to live this type of life or whatever stuff. But once we get past that, that initial frustration or feelings of, ineptness, we start to slowly connect to that energy, to that vibration. And it's kind of like if you think about learning to play an instrument, you know. I mean, my friend makes flutes, and I think, man, it'd be kind of cool to be playing a flute. Well, you know, if I start playing a flute, if I want to do that, choose that, I'm not going to sound too good playing a flute. When somebody listens to me, they're like, dude, you know, you might want to give that up. That's kind of not your thing. But, you know, if I took it and I stayed with it, I could probably play a flute in a matter, maybe even like 6 months to a year, and sound pretty decent, you know. So if you think about, you know, trying to establish this existence in your life, right? Trying to kind of come to this place. And I'm not saying I'm there, because man, I mess up all the time. I have some days I'm like trying to be the ball, you know what I'm saying? Just Caddyshack, man. Just be the ball, you know. And so, you know, I'm just kind of trying to talk about some of the things that I have used and enabled me, and like the things I've overcome in my life are huge. And man, it makes me want to cry sometimes, you know, just thinking about it, because, you know, it's like, you know, I mentioned before that line, you know, Lord, I'm not worthy to receive you, but only say the word and I shall be healed. And man, when that happens in our lives, I mean, you know, that makes us feel so far from what we're capable. Anyway, let me get back on track here. So, kind of the idea of this thing is we got to think our way through it in the beginning. We kind of got to be like, okay, I'm having some difficulty now. Things don't seem to be going well. This person did this. I want to rip their head off. You know, this is that really the way I should do it? And actually, even before that happens, we sort of have a Pavlov response to things. We just act before we even get a chance to think about it. So that's part of the process too. You're like, I can't believe I did that. I'm such an idiot. I'm trying to be this and I'm being that. But that's part of the process. That's part of the initial wakening up, man. You're like, man, I don't want to be like that. I get a hangover, man. I get an emotional hangover, I get a mental hangover when I think like that, and I act like that. So I don't want to do that, right? So that's part of the initial waking up. So, man, you have to walk through that. It's not an easy place to walk through, but that's the first step, you know, man. And so being willing to take that first step and try to hold ourselves accountable and not placate our shortcomings. Look at our shortcomings and say, you know what, I'm working towards something, so I'm going to eventually get through this. This is not who I am. I'm on the path to something different. I'm a verb. I'm an action taking place, and I'm working on that action, you know. So then we start to develop a pause. Then we start to see a situation, and we're like, man, I really want to react this way to the situation, but what's a better way to respond, you know? And that's part of that. That's when we start to have really good days, and then some days we don't have good days, you know? So just to kind of know that you're on the right track if you're pursuing this, and that's kind of what part of the path is about, you know? And we eventually, as we start to pursue that, we come out of that place of thinking, okay, I'm thinking, okay, this is not, you know, you kind of have this talk with yourself about how am I supposed to handle this situation where I want to get, you know, act in a way that I really don't feel is a part of me, but it has a strong hold on me. So we kind of think our way through those things in the beginning. As time progresses, though, we start to feel it. We start to feel the energy of that negativity, the energy of, that frustration. And then we start to feel the energy, hey, you know what, man? That's not who I am. I'm not that energy. So you're not even thinking about the words anymore. You're feeling the thoughts, the words give energy or arise to. And you're like, man, that's not the energy I feel. And so you can like walk into a situation and say there's a dialogue going on. Say you grew up and a bunch of people are gossiping. It creates this energy, and you feel the energy. You may not even hear the words, and you're like, this is not where I want to be. So you just move, and you start avoiding certain situations, and you start becoming attracted to other situations. And that's that intuitiveness. That's that energy that you feel, and you're like, man, I want to be part of this. I want to be part of that energy that manifests life, that green, the trees, the flowers, and you start to feel it, and you're like, man, holy shit! You're like, it really is true. It's not some facade when you start to feel it, you know. So that's just kind of part of that awakening process, and try to be aware of that. And when you're going through it, can be really helpful. So when you sometimes feel lost, that's part of being found. So when you're having really tough days and you question your existence, do I really have a meaning in life? Do I have a purpose? You know, man, my whole thing is, I'm trying to figure out how to be me, man, you know, and that may sound like, but man, if we aren't trying to figure out who we are, then what are we doing? We're just living this, self-contained lifestyle that lives in an ego, this id of who I think I am. And, who I think I am is kind of selfish. It's kind of pretty, meaningless. Who cares who I am? What am I becoming? What am I doing? What path am I on? That's the kind of message that I want to give to myself, not this self-consumed identity that lives in a hollow shell of some fragment of thought and stuff. I want to be a part of all of this, and I want to feel all of that in me, and sorry, so let's keep going here. I talk about a lot of science, a lot of things that I discuss or whatever stuff, and man, I'm just sharing. I'm not trying to be like a brainiac. Let me tell you my story, give you this thing. I'm not about that, man. I'm not about like, oh, I want you to be impressed. Don't get me wrong, I have an ego, and sometimes it needs to be stroked like all of us, so, I'm not saying above that, but in my message, man, I'm really just trying to pass along a lot of the information science that I spent a long time. I mean, I'm kind of like PhD long, man. I did my, the School of Tommy, man, and I did a lot of work on research and this stuff. So what it did for me, it didn't give me a head full of ego. It actually gave me a path to follow. It says, it makes sense to want to think this way as opposed to not want to think that way. Because if I think this way, this is what's going to happen. But if I choose how to think this way, right, then it's going to give me this. So a lot of these things, a lot of times I'm talking about how the limbic system of, the origins of it from our childhood and the neocortex and how that rational ability we have to think and how not to, shut down one with the sympathetic nervous system coming into the parasympathetic nervous system, or recognizing the neural pathways that are developed in our early childhood and how we need to reestablish new neural pathways and as an adult to think certain ways differently, and the mechanism that go towards that, whether it's trying to motivate our brain to release dopamine or acetylcholine, or whether it's trying to come in tune to our circadian cycle and the elements that serotonin and melatonin releases take place and stuff, So, man, I talk about a lot of different stuff, but those are all linear aspects of how to get into this pan approach to becoming in tune to everything, So, and even what I'm talking about right now, man, it does have like an Aristotle concept of, the more you discover the ground root of what your pursuit of, the easier it is to do it. So what I'm talking about now, and I'm going to get on a little bit of quantum mechanics and quantum physics or whatever stuff, but I'm not going to get into any tech. I'm just going to talk about it in a really plain way. But, recognizing that how I think creates an energy field is sort of the basis for quantum physics. So I'm thinking this way, man, I really feel connected to life right now. Or, man, I'm so not into this moment. You are really pushing me. Or this happened. I feel like a failure. I can't believe this. Or God, please save me, God. Or God, I'm so thankful, man. You just are so awesome in my life. How am I playing? What are my actions? What energy am I creating? That's an aspect of quantum physics. How I apply those thoughts. Okay, well, I think this way. So I want to put those thoughts into action. I want to think this way. I want to do this type of action, and I want to achieve that. That's quantum mechanics, man. That's it, bro. I swear. That's so just recognizing, those words are kind of like the proverbial words, man. The words of action, the words of, a sort of understanding and stuff. And you can never understand it all, but just to understand a little bit of it can really be a huge benefit towards manifesting the reality we wish to achieve. So, I have to simplify things a lot of times because things get complicated for me, and maybe they get complicated for you too and stuff. So sometimes just kind of little tidbits of information, and I thought I'd just share some of that with you really quickly. You look at all the things that, like, people like Elon Musk or these entrepreneurs that are achieving so much, and Elon Musk uses the ground root of things. I've listened to him talk and lectures and things like that, and I've researched a lot of topics that he brings up and stuff. And when I listen to guys like Musk or Bezos, I just don't. I have a pen and paper, so when I'm listening, I'm writing down. They say things. I start looking up the words they talk about, how they apply those words in their lives. So I do a lot of research. And it's not like that's smart. Oh, I'm smart. man, I think it's just having a curious mind. What am I curious about? Am I curious? Don't get me wrong, man. Sometimes I'm curious about, a chick's ass. I mean, I am, but sometimes I'm more curious about, the way that two people interact, and I see somebody handle hostility and see somebody, I saw my boss do that the other day. Somebody talked to her in a very rude way that I thought was inappropriate, but I watched the way that she responded to that and how she coordinated her thinking to not let it become manipulated by somebody else's negative thinking. She stayed on course and did a great thing. And for me, it was a perfect example, man. So having a curious mind is more about kind of observing and having this objective way of looking at reality from time to time. We can't stay objective all the time, man. We got to be subjective. We got to live our life, but sometimes coming out of that subjective existence and trying to be objective is really huge, great. Jeff Bezos, one of his things was he was getting ready to, he was at the precipice of, should I start Amazon or shouldn't I start Amazon, And he said, I read it or listened to a talk of his, and he said, the thing that made the decision for me was, he said, at the end of my life, am I going to regret that I didn't do this? Because he had a great job. He was making millions. He had a life that he didn't have to worry about, well, do I want to buy a Ferrari? Do I want to buy a Lamborghini? That's kind of what his life was like, So, but he says, man, it ain't about that. He says, am I going to regret not doing this? And he decided, and he knew what he was going to accomplish to do it, which I think is huge. I personally, sometimes just try to figure out what I'm having for lunch or dinner at the end of the day is a huge accomplishment for me, So, man, my goals are a little bit different, but what I thought about that is how do I start my day? I'm leaving the house. Do I take out the trash or do I wait till I get home? Am I regret that I didn't do it? Just the simple things, man. Am I going to regret not doing this at the end of the day? Am I going to regret a week from now not doing this? Am I going to regret my goals for a year? Am I going to regret not accomplishing this year? So figuring out how am I going to go about doing the things that I think I need to do. And how am I going to feel? What kind of energy is that going to create? Am I going to have a negative energy because I didn't do something today or this moment that I should have? Man, like getting up early in the morning. It's like I have this routine. I get up obnoxiously early. I do a lot of things, but it helps me maintain an energy that I want to be a part of. I find a way of how to think by doing some work, by doing some action, I got one of the quotes a friend turned me on that I really like a lot is, faith is the belief in things not seen. And I'm paraphrasing that, so I'm sorry if I'm not, quoting that from the Bible exactly, But faith is the ability to have a belief in things not seen. That's an energy, man. I believe this is going to happen. You talk about the law of attraction. You talk about manifesting your reality. You talk about any motivational speaker. On a little higher plane of thought, all this relates to it, but the ground roots of what they're saying, that basic, it comes from that. It comes from that sense of the energy. What energy am I producing, So, we all get like, what am I doing? We've kind of get caught, like, man, I really, there's something that, I was going to do. So just take a deep breath. Just come in tune to where I'm at right now and make a decision. Well, what do I want to do from here? Where do I want to go? How do I want to proceed from here? When we start having that type of conscious intent on the energy and think, and if we draw on that energy that initially we have to think, what type of energy do I want to become? What time? Eventually that energy will lead us. Eventually that energy will be the energy that maybe leads Moses through the desert, that speaks to him, the energy that divides the water so that the people, the energy that Christ created by how he thought to walk on water. People think, well, maybe that sounds nice, but man, to me, Christ is the greatest mental scientist that ever lived. He was able to adapt to me in Tommy's religion. He was able to think with his conscious, with his neocortex, and he coordinated that with his limbic system, with his midbrain. So he had this ability to think in a way that generated this energy that paralleled the same energy of the pons, the medulla, the brainstem, that energy that communicates, the energy that our body knows how to dilate vessels with, how the skin, sweats and produces things to cool us down, to all these, that energy that relates to the life about us from from the from the brainstem, he was able to create an even flow through that and manifest through quantum, through appreciation. He didn't probably understand quantum physics in a mathematical way. He just knew quantum. He just knew how to do that. He didn't have to understand it in a sense of, you know, Einstein or Bohr or you know, Tesla. So a way to think about how to, like, how can I visualize this? Man, did you ever think like we're just a TV? We have this consciousness, this energy inside us that uses this limbic system, this midbrain, and this neocortex to produce a vibration and a frequency, right? So we have this TV that's creating a, and it needs to, that frequency needs to find another frequency that matches it. So it has an antenna that goes and finds this greater frequency to bring it to. So how we think, right? How this limbic system and this neocortex thinks creates an energy that is able to go through the base of the brain, through the pons, through into the brain stem, and eventually go through the spinal cord, into the peripheral nervous system, this antenna of nerves that has the ability to spread out, this freaking amazing antenna that communicates to life. So not only does it enable our existence in a physical manifestation, it enables our ability to communicate with this intelligence that's outside of us. And so, if you think, man, if I'm a TV right today, what kind of image am I looking to attract towards me? You know, what am I turning the TV dial to think in a way that creates energy that I want to attract? As we become conscious of that signal that we're projecting and the signal that we're attracting because of the signal we project, then we'll be able to tune that TV into just the right station that we want to be today. Anyway, I hope my talk kind of helped make sense of some of the things that run through my brain and that I try to pass on to you guys. Have a great day. And when you're having a tough time today, man, just pause. Just stop and pause. Just let that energy just come into us. And I swear, I know it's tough, but sometimes that energy speaks to us. And man, when it does, it makes you want to cry. Love you guys.